يومئذ عن النعيم صلوات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحاكم التكاثر. Rivalry and competition in worldly gains diverts you. حتى زرتم المقابر, until you end up in your graves. كلا سوف تعلمون, no, indeed you will come to know. ثم كلا سوف تعلمون, no, indeed in the end you will come to know. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين, no, indeed only if you knew for certainty. لترون الجحيم, you will definitely see the hellfire. ثم لترونها عين اليقين, then or in the end surely you will see it with the eye of certainty. ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم, then on that day you shall be questioned about your worldly pleasures. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please can we enliven and enlighten our gathering by sending a salawat to the coolness of our eyes and the soother of our hearts, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So today I start with the title of the khutbah as me, my God and society, in no particular order. So this title is a collection of thoughts, feelings, and recent events that have been dominating the news, conversations, and social media. And I felt that the title of My God, with a small g, deserves a separate day to speak about. So today I will focus mainly on the aspect of me and society. And in part one, there'll be two main topics that I will speak about. Firstly, the ugliness of competition, and secondly, the individual as part of the society. And in part two, we will look at the positive impact individuals can have on society and having trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my topic today fits in with the aforementioned Surah At-Takathur, as this surah highlights a very real scenario for many people in society. That many of us become so blinded by rivalry and competition for worldly gains that we constantly chase the next big thing, that we forget to live. We do not look within ourselves, we do not introspect and hold ourselves accountable. And we are not present in the moment, chasing the next thing that society wants us to chase, until bang, that's it, death stops us. And by then it is too late. And when I think of me and society, I must examine what this me actually means, where it comes from, and how me and the society is actually one and the same. Meaning, I am society and the society is me. As I make up the society, without the individual, there is no society. And we can see the society that we are a part of with its preconceived notions and frameworks, whether that's Marxism, communism, capitalism, and all these sort of frameworks. These frameworks want to actually govern the individual, to carve out individuals that will benefit the higher ups, that will make the rich richer. So where does this idea of me fitting in society come from? We can see that it starts at a very young age within the schooling system, which aims to churn out students who will be competitive, ambitious, career-driven, narrow-minded, focused, and so on and so forth. You hear a lot of these labels churned out. All these ideas that we were brought up with, and these things, when they become the central focus of a person, they can have a very negative impact in one's own life. That sometimes you have no time for family. You're always working and chasing the next bonus and securing the next thing and the next thing and next thing. So this idea of me or meanness or I-ness is dominant in the society we live in, and especially in the workplace. It's built up from what we've been taught at school, where individualism, competition, and greed is expected, exploited, and championed. Workers are always encouraged to outdo or quote unquote work harder than the other to secure that bonus which will allow me to buy a bigger TV, a bigger house, a bigger car, or the book collection that I want. Competition which is encouraged to acquire that promotion so I'm secured, my spending habits are maintained, and I can live however I want, so on and so forth. And I believe that this lifestyle of competition and always trying to outdo one another, it becomes ingrained within society. And it actually becomes synonymous with the word society, especially in the West. And it begins within the education system itself, where teachers and students are judged on grades, on pass marks, and numbers, that they must attain an outstanding report by Ofsted to be in the top performing charts based on written exams and all these assessments that they've been given. And this is irrespective of how each individual child learns. The goal is that pass mark and to pass all these exams and assessments. So here, both the teacher and student are used as a means to an end. Students are rewarded for attaining a certain grade, regardless of the different learning styles, such as those who are more artistic or learn practically, for example. And this attitude can manifest itself in various ways, such as using people as a means to an end to get that promotion, to use people to get that grade and then just leave them and be on one's merry way. Hence, the phrase we hear a lot today, it's a dog-eat-dog society, or it's a dog-eat-dog world. Like, if I don't use someone to get that grade or get that promotion that everyone in my workplace is after, someone else will use me to get there, or use their contacts to allow them to bypass the hard work that I have been doing. So now what I do, I also engage into this game, that if I want to be counted at work, I want my employer to see me, and I want that promotion, and bang, that's it, finished. That's me now, stuck into the game. I've become part of this loop. And the me has now become part of what I deemed before was a problem of competition and greed and envy and all these things. Now the me, which before was distant from this, I have joined with others in society. And now I am in the race and in this competition. And this competition in itself is very ugly. The desire for the I, for the me to be seen, acknowledged, looked up to, it can become very grotesque. And this competition to outdo others in the professional world, to get to the very top, no matter any morals or principles, it doesn't matter who you may hurt to get there, this becomes really ugly in its nature. Desire plus competition plus greed for social status, wealth, money, the list is endless, is very, very ugly. What it does is it actually breaks you off from your fellow human being. It breaks you off from the ummah. You are no longer a human being, but you become a human being where it's all about me. Where everything is me, 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 me. And this comes from our inner thoughts, which creates conflicts within us. I want this becomes no, I must have this. And then it's I want this thing because my neighbor has it or the person sitting next to me has it. And thoughts like this start dominating and occupying the mind. Why? Just so I can fit in with society, just so I can fit in with my neighbor and this person and that person. And this was the very society that I was condemning for encouraging greed and gluttony and selfishness. I was condemning all these things, but now, without realizing, I've become entrapped. And if I want to bring this example closer to home, it may help you understand what I mean. So we've been brought up or taught this concept of la'na within our theology, whereby we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove His mercy from the oppressors. And the classic example, of course, is Yazid. But I say, hang on a minute there, young chap. I say, how can I send la'na on Yazid if I have the very same characteristics within me as him. For example, if a person has an unparalleled desire for wealth, that he becomes blinded and narrow minded, which are given actually other words in today's society. They're given fancy labels like, oh, career focused, or this person is driven, this person is determined, so on and so forth. That a person will do anything to get there no matter what. How can I then, with this mentality, in the same breath, send Latin on someone like Yazid and his followers who became so blinded and narrow minded? No, let me use today's language, who became so driven, focused, determined to attain wealth and fame and all these things that they wanted, that killing, massacring old men, babies, women, imprisoning women was justified, was seen as okay. So, how can I consciously send Latna on such individuals if I feel and I know within myself that I am actually amongst them, sharing the same desire for wealth, for social status, to be seen, to be known, to be heard? And we should see a parallel here that if we were to use today's language, one can argue that a genocide took place 1400 years ago on that land where innocents were brutally massacred. So, yeah, today we can sit here and condemn Netanyahu and Hitler and all these people and condemn those who ethnically cleanse, the Bosnians who ethnically cleanse the Serbians, and so on and so forth. We can condemn slavery. But I must ask myself, am I so far and so detached from this reality myself? Am I so far from these people who I believe are oppressors and cause oppression and injustice? Who would look at a man like Imam Hussein and behead him? And today who would boast about beheading babies, as many IDF personnel are bragging right now on the internet. You can see videos today. Or such people that take people, put them on ships and sell them as slaves, as though they're dealing with stacks of hay. And now there's another phenomenon that I've seen. Now we tend to hide behind our social media posts or attending these rallies condemning genocide and oppression, and we become comfortable in these sort of things. And I'm sorry if this sounds a bit harsh, but I want to explain what I mean here. So some of us, me myself included, we share posts condemning genocide and highlighting the hypocrisy and the oppression that's going on in the world. But then sometimes in the same social media story, we're posting about our food, our cars, our weddings in the same bracket. And then you look back and it's just becoming a tick box exercise. I'm doing it maybe because everyone else is doing it. Okay, that's my daily condemnation done. Sharing a post, attending a rally, and all these things. But I'm not saying these things are bad, but I'm here to ask a very pertinent question. What next? What after sharing a story? What after attending a rally? What practical elements have you taken from this? And what are you actually doing? How has your home life changed? How has this oppression changed your spending habits? Are we still wasting God's blessings? Are we still the cause of oppression and sadness within our homes, within society? If so, what bloody impact is any of this having on us? Is there an internal revolution where I become the change I want to see in society? And the absolute truth is that it's easy to see people like the Netanyahus and the Bidens and the Yazids as the oppressors. No, it's not me. I would never do that. It's happening daily in Gaza, in Sudan, in Pakistan, in Iran, in Syria, in Lebanon, ila akhirihi. My hands are clean. No, your hands are not clean. My hands are not clean. Because I and we as much a part of this problem as the one we call the oppressor. Why? Yes, we do blame society and this civilization and this nation, but we forget that we are part of the same society that we are condemning. We are part of the same people that we condemn. And my question is, what have we done on a micro level to combat injustice? How do we treat our elders? How do we see that beggar sitting down in the supermarket? Do we just walk past them? Do we try talking to them, or are we repulsed by what we see? And do we avoid them due to X, Y, Z reason? In case they make eye contact and I might have to start speaking and all these other things. What are you doing at home with your family, with your spouse, with your friends, on the football pitch, at work? What are you actually doing that's making an impact on a micro level? There's no good in blaming others and blaming society as if magically we're not part of the same society. Like I said before, I am the society and the society is me. We can't run nor hide behind protests and share things on social media and think, yeah, this is okay. Like I said, these things have its place, it's good. But again, I'm going to emphasize, what are you actually doing? Not intellectually, but actually doing. Because intellectually, in my mind, yes, I am with Imam Hussein. I agree with this stance, and I would say, look, Imam, if I was there 1400 years ago, I'm part of you, I'm part of your people. And I would fight your enemies and all these things that I have Josh and I say. But hang on, would I actually do this? Is this actually the case? We see there's an old companion, I think his name's Zuhair ibn Qayn, from Imam Hussein. When Imam Hussein actually sent for him, he dropped everything and he accepted the call of the Imam. There was no thoughts, there was no what if and this and that and this. He just went like this and he boarded that caravan of eternity. He knew what was going on. And he must have thought, I'm part of this society that actually wants to kill Imam Hussein. But I myself must change, must go and try to solve the issue. And truly, in changing his situation at that time, from sitting at home and going to fight with Imam Hussein, he's now part of this historical movement where he's still remembered today. And who knew the profound impacts his small steps had in catching up with Imam Hussein? That now you have 20 million people year in, year out going to that same land he was slain. And in more recent examples, we do applaud people like Muhammad Ali, who refused to fight in the Vietnam War. And he said, when they said, why do you refuse? He goes, ain't no Vietnamese that call me the M word, and looked at him as a second-class citizen. And now today, his actions, not as a boxer, but his actions as what he did there are immortalized. But truly, would we actually do something like this? He lost his boxing license, he lost his income, he had a family to support, he got sent to jail, his peak years of an athlete gone. And that's what I mean. It's a big difference between actually doing something and intellectually thinking about it. And just before I end this part, I came across a really nice story by a young girl by the name of Julia Butterfly Hill. And just remember this day, man, remember her story. So this woman, Julia Butterfly Hill, she was so passionate about protecting nature and passionate about, and her passion actually created, her internal passion created a revolution which manifested externally. So Julia heard about this 200-foot tree, which was X amount of years old, and it was actually going to be cut down by some tree loggers. So to save the tree, what she did was she actually lived in the tree for 2 years, refusing to come down until they agreed that, look, we're not going to cut this tree down. And her energy and passion became so infectious that it caused a change with other people in society. She actually did something about it. She fully immersed herself in it, whereby other people became influenced and they started supporting her. They started bringing her food and other essentials while she was up there for 2 years. And I was thinking, how did she have the courage to do such a thing? To let many things in life go, my house, my family, my job, and all this, just so a tree is not cut down. And my thoughts at that, there were no thoughts. There was no ifs, no buts, no ands, no nothing. She just went for it. There's no talk, if I do this, I will lose this, I will gain this, and this will happen. So maybe there's no internal conflict that's actually holding her back. And as long as there is an internal conflict, as long as there is greed, I-ness, meanness, jealousy, and competition which is occupying us, we can never be part of the solution. We can always condemn, but we will be part of that same condemnation. And it's hard to hear and it's hard to uncondition ourselves in a society that thrives off competition, that thrives of this dog eat dog atmosphere, that use people just get to the very top. And this constant pressure to perform, to outdo one another for what? A bigger car, a bigger house, and so on and so forth. And there's a very interesting story I was telling someone about a famous person by the name of Bob Marley, and he was asked, and he was just sitting on the sidewalk, just chilling. He was in Jamaica chilling, and no entourage, nothing. And he goes, this woman, the interviewer asked him, she asked him about money, fame, success, and all these things. And he replied to her, he goes, what is money? Money is just numbers, and numbers never end. And if it takes money for you to be happy, he says, you're never ever going to be happy. Your happiness, your search for happiness will never end. What he's saying is you will never ever be content. You will never live in the moment because you're constantly chasing. And like the classic example of the donkey on the stick, it will never get with the carrot on the stick, it will never get the carrot no matter how much it walks forward, no matter how fast it goes. And in this society, the millionaire wants to be the billionaire and the thousandaire wants to be this heir and that heir. We're always trying to chase. Hatta zurtumul maqabir, the Quran tells us, until what happens, bang, we're in our graves, finished. And this is the truth. And this has happened and will continue doing so as long as people are motivated by fame, by wealth, by social status, and all these things that society wants us to be motivated by. So now I'm ending part 1. Let's all collectively pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us become the positive change we want in society, to help free ourselves from greed and envy, to forgive all our marhumeen. And please can we recite a heartfelt Al-Fatiha for all our marhumeen, especially for a young brother from Birmingham who passed away recently in Pakistan by the name of Shoaib Hussain. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So in part 2, I just want to highlight the positive impact that individuals have had on society and how one person with passion can inspire others, whether it's the university professors supporting student enclavements on university campuses nationwide, or it is quote-unquote ordinary individuals using their voice, using their money to make an impact by way of boycotting, by being the voice for the voiceless, irrespective of the treatment they do face or may face, whether that is police brutality, bullying, intimidation, and threats, and so on and so forth. And this is how the society that we make up changes, molds, and evolves into something that we want. An individual that cares about the rights of others is part of a society where the society, the collective, will also care about the rights of others, who will call out against oppression and injustice and so on. And today is a stark contrast to the massacre and genocide that happened in Iraq many years ago when they were accused of having WMDs. That the oppression that occurred there by the hands of the coalition of USA and Europe, there was no social media to document the crimes that took place there. But today, the energy is different. There is a mass awakening from individuals, which is informing an awakened, resolute society, whereby people will not stand for this global, ongoing oppression. Now individuals have recognized that if world leaders are silent, we shall not be. And indeed, it's only a matter of time where everyone joins this movement, condemning massacre, genocide, bullying, and so on and so forth. Because there is only a certain amount where a government or an institution can try to manipulate the narrative or pressure individuals and bully them. Until that pressure comes to a boiling point and we have the inevitable global outcry and movement where silence is no longer an option. And this is what makes the cries of Hayhat min Nadhillah loud today, that no to humiliation. It is today where the cry of Imam Hussein penetrates the most stone-hearted people. The call of, is there anyone to help me? Now we can see from another angle the words of the Imam when he said, a man like me can never pledge allegiance to a man like Yazid. And we've been hearing these phrases for decades on end, but it may not have as much impact back then as it does today. And we can see the revolution of Imam Hussein and what we may believe his aims to be in another light today. Today, we have a big responsibility to be the voice for the voiceless. Yes, by sharing posts on social media, attending conferences, marches, and so on. But like I said in part one, not just doing this as a tick box exercise, but actually implementing this in ourselves, in our homes, with our family, friends, work colleagues, and so on. Not being content and comfortable thinking, okay, my job's done, but we need to build on this energy, which shows those powers to be that our collective voices actually mean something. The truth is apparent that if not today, tomorrow you will definitely have to listen to us. Because a world free of oppression can only occur if we actively raid oppression on a micro scale. And remember that I am society and society is me. If there is a problem, first of all, the problem exists within myself. And the problem will only get fixed on a bigger scale if I sort it out on a smaller scale. And in order to fix myself, we need to be sincere and trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm going to end with this poem. It's a Farsi poem on trusting God, which is very beautiful. The title of the poem is Umeed be Khuda, being hopeful in God. And it starts, Shanidastam ke shehrbazi kohansal, kabutar bache ra kard dombal, az bime jan kabutar kard parvaz, به هر سو تاخت تازان از پیش باز به دشت و کوه و صحرا بود پران از چنگ باز شاید در برد جان اجل را دید و شست از زندگی دست درختی در نظر بگرفت و بنشست نشست و سر به زیر پر فرا برد که کی چنگال بازش می کند خورد نظر کرد آن نگون اقبال بر زیر که صیادی کمان بر کف به زهر تیر کمان بر کف نموده قسط جانش هدف بگرفته و کرده نشانش به زیر پای صیاد و به سر باز نه بنشستن صلاح است و نه پرواز به کلی رشته امید بگسست در آن دم دل به امید خدا بست چو امیدش به حق بود آن کبوتر نجات از مرگ دادش هی داور بزد ماری به شست پای صیاد قضا بر باز خورد آن تیر و افتاد به خاک افتاد هم صیاد و هم باز کبوتر شاد و خندان کرد پرواز. So this poem, the poet says, I heard that there was an old falcon that was chasing a baby pigeon to eat. And out of the fear of its life, the baby pigeon began to fly. So it flew rapidly in every direction. The pigeon saw imminent death in the form of the falcon, and it had no hope of living. The pigeon saw a tree in the distance and sat on one of its branches. As it sat on the tree, it hid its head under its feathers and waited until it would feel the falcon's claw tear it apart and eat it. But as it puts its head under its feathers, it saw how unlucky it was, as there was a person under the tree. And this person turned out to be a hunter with a bow and arrow, aimed ready to strike at the pigeon. So now there's two dangers here. Under the pigeon, there's a hunter ready to strike, and above its head is a falcon ready to strike and kill it. So the pigeon saw there's no hope on sitting on this tree branch, and neither is there hope in flying. Now it thought one way or another, I'm going to be killed, I'm going to be torn to shreds. However, in that in that moment, it put all its hope in Al-Hayy, in the living, in God. And God saved this pigeon from imminent death at that moment. Just as the hunter was going to strike the pigeon with the arrow, it stood on a venomous snake who bit him. And as he was falling, he shot the arrow, which then missed its intended target and hit the falcon, which was flying towards the pigeon. Due to this, the falcon fell to the floor, as did the hunter who got bit by the venomous snake. So the pigeon, it put its hope in God, it flew away and smiled and it was happy. And the moral of the story today is we too can feel that we're being attacked in every direction due to religion, sect, skin color, ethnicity, and so on. And sometimes we may feel hopeless that our voices may not be heard, or that if I do speak out against these injustices taking place in society, I may lose my job, that I can't pay my rent or my mortgage, I lose my house, I have dependents, and the list goes on. But in these moments, if we put our hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like this pigeon, and say, look, Allah, I've done what I can, and I'm doing my best and being sincere, so please give me a helping hand. And it is in this moment you will definitely hear a reply from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, loud and clear, that when my servant asks of me, tell him I am near, or tell them I am near, I respond to them whenever they call out to me. Why? Because وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَ مَعَكُمْ, because He is with you wherever you are. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Please can we recite 5 times Amma Yujibu for all those suffering all over the world, especially for my wife's grandma, grandfather, and uncle who have recently been in hospital and have been in and out of hospital due to health complications. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul mudtarra idha da'a wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul mudtarra idha da'a wa yakshifu su. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.